Well, good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. I appreciate you literally squeezing me in to this very, very packed room and this very, very packed hearing. I'm here to present Assembly Bill 2586, which is the Parking Bill of Rights. We all know that one of our core functions as a state and as a state legislature is to exercise our police power. Now, police power does not refer to literally policing the citizens or hiring police or anything like that. It's, of course, the inherent power of the state to protect its citizens and protect their well-being. And we exercise police power all the time by setting certain basic thresholds that cities have to follow when it comes to their relationship with their citizens. We give school districts lots of autonomies, but we state that school districts have to train their employees on how to spot and report child abuse. That's a basic floor. We also say that law enforcement, we give them total autonomy, but we say that they have to set certain floors with the way that they have to treat people. They have to read their rights. They have to do other certain things. Elections is another example. We give elections counties lots of autonomy, but we also do require polls to stay open until 8 p.m. This bill would set certain floors within the realm of parking. It would say that you have to treat your citizens fairly within the realm of parking, and it would state that these are the basics that you have to follow, and that is why it is called the Parking Bill of Rights. Citizens all over the state are hungry for this type of reform. We all probably represent some districts where parking is difficult and some cities within our districts where it's not so difficult. But in any city and in many, many urban locations throughout the state, it's become this colossal hassle where people view it as just another way that government tries to soak its citizens. So this measure will do 5 things. It will require local governments to make on-street parking spaces available immediately after street sweeping has concluded. It will prohibit cities from ticketing motorists who park at broken meters. It will prohibit valet parking operators from acting like they own the street. They don't own the street. Our taxpayer dollars pay for the street. They should not be able to block off an entire street and keep motorists away from it. It will prohibit local governments from hiring bounty hunters. Whenever you have a bounty hunter, you put a financial motivation to a third party to do things that the government should do, like collect taxes, you put a profit motive within government, and that's wrong. And finally, it will require governments, if they're installing these high-tech demand-based meters, to make them true demand-based meters. Something where if you're going to charge more for people at 12 noon, you shouldn't be charging them that same price at midnight. Profit-driven parking enforcement has been another way that our society soaks people, particularly poor people. This is a constant theme with citizens where they're very annoyed, and I think it's time for us to set these basic floors, and I respectfully ask for a aye vote.
Thank you. First witness speaking in support.
Yes. Madam Chair, members, good afternoon. David Wolf with the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association in support of the bill today. Members, we do believe that this is an issue of statewide importance, and clarity is extremely important here. As the author mentioned, and as was referenced in the committee analysis, $165 million worth of fines in Los Angeles County. And as the author noted, these fines are incredibly regressive and for a lot of issues that we believe are unfair, including ticketing at parking at broken meters. And this would extend that, remove the sunset, make that provision permanent. And for that reason and for the other aspects of the bill, we're in support.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else speaking in support today? Support.
Madam Chair, members, I'm probably a tweener, the phrase you've used earlier today. Joshua Shaw for the City and County of San Francisco's Mayor Ed Lee and our Municipal Transportation Agency, which sets and enforces parking policy. We're going to generally echo the local control concerns that several of the members have mentioned earlier today. But it turns out with regard to our parking policies, a lot of what we do matches up with what is in Assembly Member Gatto's bill. But very specifically, we've asked the member, and we've worked with the staff, to consider an amendment that has to do with the piece that takes the sunset off of a law that he authored a few years ago that provides for unlimited free parking when there's a meter that is broken. And we understand very clearly the concern is that local governments are taking advantage of that. In our situation, we would ask for a cap, for instance, like 2 hours, to ensure that there is some turnover. We've looked at the data in our city of our more than 6,000 meters. The incidence of vandalism is 245% more likely to happen at one of our meters that is unlimited than the limited parking. People jam coins, they put cotton into the slots, they mess with the payment system, and our simple request would be to combat vandalism, because you're incentivized to proceed with that vandalism to get that free parking all day. With that amendment, if you would consider that, the city might actually be in support. He's asked us for some additional data. We just provided that this morning, so we know he may not be able to act on that today, but that would be our ask. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Others?
We're hearing opposed.
Okay, for opposition.
Hi. Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. Ronnie Berdugo on behalf of the League of California Cities. We want to thank the author for working with us and his staff for working with us. And unfortunately, we have concerns, significant concerns, which each of the provisions of the bill, even with the permanent extension of AB 61, we think it's premature to extend that. The law's only been on the books for about 2 years. I don't think we've had enough time to really fully assess the impacts of that particular provision. We believe that that particular provision, as people familiarize themselves with the law, and folks that don't have the best of intentions could use that provision to vandalize the machines, to not have to pay for parking. The other provision that we have a concern with is not allowing cities to provide incentives for private parking enforcement. Most cities don't really engage in those types of incentives. If they do, we believe that they use that as a tool to ensure that their vendors fulfill their end of the bargain, essentially. On valet services, we believe that those arrangements between their local government and businesses are carefully balanced arrangements between the government and the business. Some cities, their population can triple overnight. I mean, California cities are home to some of the most popular tourist destinations in the world, and they simply can't accommodate street parking for all of their visitors. And so we think that not being able to create those arrangements with businesses actually creates a burden on those cities and their ability to generate local economic development. And so there are other provisions of the bill that we have concerns with, but those are some of the key ones. We strongly urge your no vote and want to thank you for your time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Others speaking in opposition?
Madam Chair and members, Matthew Seiberling on behalf of the California Public Parking Association, representing over 200 parking enforcement programs in municipalities, colleges and universities, and special districts. I'd like to echo the comments of my colleague from the League of Cities. We think this is a difficult issue to legislate from the state level for a one-size-fits-all type of a model, and these decisions are best made closer to the people at the local level who understand the different nuances and particulars of those areas. And for those reasons, we oppose the bill. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members, David Jones, on behalf of the City of Sacramento, will echo the comments of my colleagues that this is one-size-fits-all. We think it's not appropriate. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. To the committee. Ms. Bonilla.
Well, the only thing I really like is the street sweeping thing, because I've lived here in Sacramento, and it drives me crazy how they control the streets downtown. But the valet parking, it just seems like micromanagement of local government, and I think my real problem though is I'd really like to hear you talk about what the problem is with incentives. If these are real parking violations, they're real parking violations. Why should we at the state care how many, or if a community wants to incentivize, a higher compliance, from a contracted company in terms of issuing tickets? I mean, if they were doing something illegal and giving tickets where there wasn't a violation, that's a problem. But giving more tickets isn't.
Well, I can talk as philosophically or as specifically as you want. There is a trend in our society to criminalize just about any behavior. There's a book that came out called 5 Felonies a Day, and it posits that anything you do at any time is breaking some law somewhere. And when you have this powerful mechanism in place for cities not only to collect unpaid tickets, but also to issue those tickets as a revenue generator, then you have a revenue motive that's in the wrong place. I mean, we all voted, and you voted too, and I thank you for it, for Senator Hertzberg's bill last year, which said that the fines that we have tacked on over the years to small traffic violations, to all sorts of things, you turn a $100 violation into $1,000 of revenue, or $1,200, and that's right out of someone's pocket. They really become hidden taxes.
That's not what this does. This is saying cities would be prohibited from basically increasing the work productivity of their parking ticket people. And I don't...
Well, explain that to me.
Well, you say they can't give incentives.
They can't contract with a third party that has bounty incentives for if you collect $565 from this person, then you get this percentage of it. I mean, we've always for two
on issuing tickets or on
for both
The collection. I think you're talking about the collection.
and fees.
Yeah.
Which both or one or the other?
I submit that both are a problem, but I submit that even on the collection, we have never, as that I'm aware of, in this nation, allowed bounties on things like tax collection and fees collection, because it just creates too much of an incentive to be too big of a bully when it comes to collecting these fines and these fees.
I'm reading it as for issuing higher number of violations. So I see this as, having the contracted meter maid work a little bit harder and faster and getting an incentive for it. That's how I read it, and I just don't see a problem with that. If it's on, she's going to, go slow and maybe ticket 10 cars, and they're saying, we're going to give you a bonus if you work a little faster and ticket 20 cars. I just think that's the city's right to do that.
Well, we have a disagreement. I think the CHP should not be allowed to say if you ticket 20 cars, you get a bonus, and I don't think that parking enforcement should have that either.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a difference of
just a difference
of opinion.
Okay.
Difference of opinion on that. And I would say in a city like mine, who struggles to hire police and safety folks, we have also contracted out the collection of tickets, and it has worked in a city like ours. So, okay, would you like to close, Mr. Gowd?
Sure. So what I'll try to do is address some of the things that the opposition said. This is a one-size-fits-all policy. I said that in my opening. I think that certain principles should be written in state law. I think if a city is ticketing someone who parks at a broken meter that the city has failed to fix, that should not be something that we tolerate at a state level. I think that most of the opposition focused on the broken meter issue, and I'm more than happy to work with San Francisco. They've been very kind through this process, and I know the mayor of San Francisco and the mayor of Los Angeles have made it their policy to adopt many of the principles in this bill. But it is sort of a poison pill that I can't take in this committee for a reason, and that is if we were to say that no parking 5 to 6 p.m. unless the meter's broken, in which case, we would have to change every single sign in the entire state of California. And that would bring this bill a colossal cost, and I don't think the cities would like that any more than they would. And plus, it would be so strange for us to write on a sign that if the city has failed to fix this meter, then you can park here for 2. The cities have it in their control. They can fix that meter. It's that simple. My current bill, to correct a couple things that the opposition said, it expires at the end of 2016. There has been no rise in vandalism. When my bill was going through the process, they said that there'd be people walking around with sledgehammers in their car to destroy meters. That has not happened. And that bill also sets limits already. It says you can park there up to the limit set by law. So if it's a 2-hour meter, you can park there for 2 hours. And cities also have it in their control, and they would remain in their control through this bill to change the limits at a meter. So if they don't like the fact that someone's parking for 12 hours, they can make that a 6-hour spot or a 2-hour spot or whatever they wish. So I think it's a bit of a red herring and a bit of a requested poison pill, but I am still nevertheless happy to continue working with them. And with those notes and with the comments we already said, I respectfully ask for a vote.
Thank you. And I would just say that I was sharing with the staff last year in my town, 86 parking meters were destroyed in one night and carried off. I am the home of Cool Hand Luke, and you might remember he was in jail for parking meters, and there was 86 in 2015 in one night that were with a sledgehammer.
Yeah, but that was for the money in the meters. It was not to park there for free.
I'm just saying, 86 meters in one night.
Right, sure.
Okay. There is no motion or second at this point. The bill's been moved. I will second it. Secretary, call the roll.
The motion is due pass to the Committee on Appropriations. Eggman.
Aye.
Eggman, aye. Waldron. Alejo. Bonilla. Bonilla, no. Chu. Cooley. Gaines. Gaines, aye. Gordon. Gordon, no. Linder. The bill needs 3 votes.
Needs 3 votes to get out.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Mr. Ting. Yesterday I said 76. Today. Okay, Mr. Ting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you. AB 2180 expedites the permit process for housing projects in California. We think it's a good solution towards our huge housing crisis up and down the state. The time frame for approval process will be shortened for up to 5 months for residential and mixed-use housing and up to 3 months for affordable units. It also doesn't force any local governments to approve units, just shortens that approval process. With that, I have one witness. Respectfully ask for aye vote.
Madam Chair and members, Shanta Pakin on behalf of the California Apartment Association. We are in support. I'll be brief. I think we all know we're in a housing crisis, and helping expedite the construction of housing, both low income and market rate, are the best interest of our communities. Ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Others speaking in support today?
Anya Lawler on behalf of Western Center on Law and Poverty and the California Rural Legal Assistance Foundation in support.
Tyrone Buckley on behalf of Housing California, also in support.
Thank you. Others in support? Anyone in opposition today? All right. Thank you. Questions from the committee? All right, you may close, Mr. Ting.
Just respectfully ask for aye vote.
Okay, this is a due pass. Secretary, please call the roll.
Motion is due pass, and we refer to the Committee on Appropriations. Eggman.
Aye.
Eggman, aye. Waldron. Alejo. Bonilla. Bonilla. Sorry.
Aye.
Bonilla, aye. Chu. Cooley. Gaines. Gaines, aye. Gordon. Aye. Gordon, aye. Linder.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ting. You waited longer than it took you to present. Thank you very much. Ms. Bonilla is going to go next.
Madam Chair and members, I present AB 2697, which grants affordable housing developers the first right of refusal to purchase property currently in the possession of redevelopment successor agencies. The bill applies to successor agencies' properties the same standards that jurisdictions follow for surplus land. We all know there's a lack of available land. We think this might be one small solution. With me today, I have Michael Lane of the Nonprofit Housing Association of Northern California. You're Michael?
Let's go ahead.
Madam Chair, members, we're pleased to support this bill. We were also able to work with Assemblymember Ting in 2014 on a bill that actually strengthened and improved the surplus land disposition process. This just actually references that was already signed into law by the governor. This does not require that land be sold below market. We also note that in that code section, the legislature's already made declarations about the importance of identifying appropriate sites for affordable housing and providing a right of first refusal and an opportunity to negotiate to acquire those sites, particularly for transit-oriented affordable housing. And this just provides an opportunity for jurisdictions to consider, as they dispose of land that was formerly owned by the redevelopment agency, to look at particularly those parcels appropriate for residential and or mixed uses to be made available and provide some inclusionary housing affordability in those developments. And we ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Others speaking in support today?
Anya Lawler on behalf of the Western Center on Law and Poverty and the California Rural Legal Assistance Foundation in support.
Thank you.
Maureen Higgins representing the California Housing Consortium in support.
Thank you. Others in support? People speaking in opposition today?
Good afternoon. Kendra Harris with the League of Cities. We've been communicating with the author's office, so we appreciate the continued conversations, but we do remain opposed. We feel that this measure is coming very late in the dissolution process and imposing new procedural and substantive requirements for the disposition of former RDA properties at this time would no doubt complicate the delay in the wind down process. So we remain opposed to this measure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Second.
I'll second it. Questions?
Also gonna vote?
Yeah. Questions from the committee, or would you like to? Questions, anybody? Would you like to close, Ms. Bonilla? Okay, that is a due pass.
The motion is due pass, and we refer to the Committee on Appropriations. Eggman.
Aye.
Eggman, aye. Waldron. Alejo. Bonilla. Bonilla, aye. Chu. Cooley. Gaines. Gaines, no. Gordon. Gordon, I. Linder. Bill needs two.
Thank you. You need two more to get out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gonzalez.
Thank you. Hi, how are you? Good. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair, committee members. AB 2470 would allow the Sequan tribe to purchase water from a local municipal water district. As the law currently stands, Sequan's original reservation is not allowed to connect to or purchase water from any of the neighboring municipal water districts. Access to safe and secure source of drinking water is a basic human right. Sadly, the original Sequan reservation was excluded from the boundaries of the local municipal water districts, creating an unsafe situation for its tribal members. I want to be clear on this because there have been some questions about why we're doing this now and not going through a process through LAFCO. First of all, if you even look at the website of the Padre Dam Water District, it talks about its history, once being created originally as the Mission Water District to serve the mission in San Diego, the mission that enslaved the very tribe that was put on a reservation and then excluded from ever accessing the water from the water district. This is fundamentally wrong. The LAFCO process was set up for local governments, not for a sovereign nation to have to access. So for me, this bill really just is about creating fairness and equity in a situation and righting a historical wrong. We're working closely with the Water District to ensure that they're comfortable that they will actually receive payment, which I'm sure Sequan, of course, will pay their obligations as they always have in these agreements, both with the state, the county, and areas around us. Today, I am happy to have with me Chairman Cody Martinez of the Sequan Tribe and Adam Day, the assistant to the chairman, who can answer any technical questions the members of the committee may have. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you very much. Bill's been moved. And seconded. All right. First witness in support.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Cody Martinez. I serve as chairman of the Sequan Band of the Kumeyaay Nation, a federally recognized Indian tribe in East San Diego County. The Sequan tribe has lived and thrived in our Aboriginal territory for thousands of years, and in 1875, my tribe was forcibly placed by executive order on 640 acres east of El Cajon, California. It was by no surprise that the 640 acres selected for our tribe were some of the poorest acreage in the region, with over two-thirds of the land being steep mountainside. In the 1940s and 50s, water districts began to be formed throughout the state, and at that time, no tribal reservations, to our knowledge, were included within any service district boundaries at the time. In the early 2000s, my tribe, through the relative success of our tribal gaming operation, began to buy back at steeply inflated prices our Aboriginal lands, so that we could have more room to build houses for our members, develop facilities to provide basic governmental services to our people, and to further diversify our economy. Eventually, these later acquired properties became part of our reservation also. Throughout all this time, we have been dependent on a limited number of groundwater wells for our drinking and irrigation water. While currently we have an adequate supply of groundwater, the quality of water and long-term viability of the underground hydrology are indeed questionable. After the devastating wildfires in 2003, my tribe spent over $8 million to extend a water line through the Padre Dam Water District so that our newly acquired properties and off-reservation community members could access secure quality drinking water. We extended this line to the edge of our original reservation, hoping to eventually serve the original 640 acres. Unfortunately, due to provisions in state law, the Water District could not serve the original reservation. Since then, we have spent a number of years and millions of dollars in studies to annex into the Water District. But due to the nature of our local LAFCO, we unfortunately realized that no matter how much time or money was spent, an obscure local district with no government-to-government relationship with our tribe could still eventually turn down our request. So now we turn to you for a solution. I want to thank Assemblywoman Gonzalez for sponsoring and every member of the San Diego delegation for co-sponsoring a solution to our serious and immediate threat to public health and safety for our people. Because of our unique circumstance, where we are surrounded on three sides by two different water districts, over 70% of our reservation land is currently served by both water districts. This bill will not set a precedent. Water availability studies and environmental review have already occurred, and the tribe has accepted all amendments to the bill offered by the three affected local districts that ensure that we pay applicable fees and charges just as any other customer would. and we would be treated no differently in the event of a drought. We need the help of the legislature to ensure access to quality, secure drinking water without infringing upon our sovereignty and without unduly burdening local water agencies. If a major contamination event occurs upstream, this would devastatingly impact our groundwater supply. If there was a major earthquake, one of our dependable wells could be out of service. So therefore, our tribe, our thousands of employees, and our 15,000 customers each and every day cannot afford that risk. Thank you very much for your time and your support on this bill.
Thank you. Others in support?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Viviana Becerra on behalf of Viejas Band of Kumeyaay Indians in strong support. Thank you.
I'm Jack Gribben with Unite Here, the Hotel and Casino Workers Union. We're very, very strongly in support of this bill. In addition to what the chairman just discussed, it also recognizes the special relationship between the sovereign band of Sycuan, the Sycuan band of Kumeyaay Indians and the state of California. And this tribe, in our view, has worked in great good faith with the state of California on a number of issues. And this is an issue where the state can do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Moira Top here on behalf of San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer. In support of the measure, the author mentioned continuing to work on improving the bill. We also support those discussions and ask for your aye vote today.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members. Jerome Encinas on the behalf of the Rincon Band of Luiseno Indians in strong support. We thank Ms. Gonzalez for carrying the bill. We support Chairman Martinez, and I apologize for not having a letter in. I will hand it to the sergeants on my way out. Thank you.
Others in support?
Madam Chair, we're kind of the tweener group here, I think. Richard Harris on behalf of the Padre Dam Municipal Water District. We've been working cooperatively with the bill's author and with the sponsors to get to this point with the amendments that were taken. We think maybe there's just another tweak that needs to be put in. We hope that that's still going to happen if the bill moves forward. With that, then it will go to our full board for a vote and hopefully approval of the measure. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members. Glenn Farrell, San Diego County Water Authority. My board of directors has also not adopted a position yet, but we do want to express our appreciation to the author, her staff, and the sponsors for, as Mr. Harris put, working cooperatively with us to address outstanding issues that we had. We do, as Mr. Harris mentioned, have some minor remaining tweaks that we believe need to be addressed, and we look forward to addressing those in the Appropriations Committee and moves forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Rosanna Carvacho here on behalf of the Otay Water District, and I will just echo what my colleagues before me said in the tweener category. We look forward to working with the author and the sponsor still on these final amendments and hopefully having a support position moving forward. Thank you.
Jonathan Clay on behalf of Metropolitan Water District of Southern California. We're also in that sort of tweener category. Our board took a support if amended. We had offered some amendments. The sponsors have rejected those. Our concerns, basically, we just want to look at this from whether it goes through a LAFCO process at the local level or if you bring it up here to Sacramento and run it legislatively, that there's some core issues that need to be addressed in terms of looking at water supply reliability, ensuring that the payments are made, fairness to existing ratepayers, enforcement of contracts. So those are a number of things. We've been speaking with a lot of the members about this. We will continue to work with the tribe and the author on trying to address our concerns. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody officially in opposition? Okay. And I have a none recommendation on this, and I certainly sympathize. I'm also somewhat bothered that this is not the only bill today we'll hear about. We go around the LAFCO process. So either we have a LAFCO process in place or we don't. Because everybody who goes through the process has the risk that they're not going to be approved. So you see the kind of Bigfoot it looks like, that you're not sure it's going to get approved, so we come up here. And I just would also say that I clearly am supportive of the idea of lands that were once part of the reservation have services, but there's also a casino on that land now. So when we talk about what's that water going for and is there going to be enough and what's else going to be built, as a sovereign nation you don't have to get permits for what you build on that land. But now that we've said the water must be supplied, then there becomes a supply of water issue. And certainly coming from somewhere where water is always an issue up here, in Northern California. I'm sensitive to that. So I would ask you, as you move forward, to continue to work with folks on the issue of supply and how that works out. And all right. Any other questions from the committee? Mr. Gordon?
To the author, am I incorrect? It sounds like the water districts would be willing to provide water. Is that correct?
They are
They're currently
supportive, but we have to, in order to do that without legislation, the tribe would have to go through the LAFCO process. Okay. And they have worked for years and spent I don't know how much money trying to engage that solution. This is really a fundamental, I think, question about fairness. The water districts, of course, want to make sure they're going to get paid, and that makes sense. LAFCO wasn't created when there was a decision made not to serve this reservation. And it's true, things have changed, and for the better, thank God. For me, I think the history of this land, of this water district, of our area in San Diego, and having understood what has happened, it is insulting. And as to treat a sovereign nation like we would anyone else, especially when we know the history of why this reservation was never served in the first place. I think we're here to right historical wrongs. If this was, and I've been very clear, if Sequan had come to me and asked me that their downtown San Diego hotel need to be hooked up to water, then they go through a regular process. But there is a reason why the reservation was left out. I think it's a responsibility of this legislature to right those historical wrongs and not force a process upon them, which is overly burdensome, quite frankly, that there's no certainty of, and that would have never been required in the first place if they had been served, because the process came after the lack of service.
Madam Chair, Adam Day with the Sequan Tribe. Just to address your question, there is and has been a certified environmental document that was adopted by the Otay Water District and the County Water Authority, and an adopted water supply master plan. So plenty of a supply of water is available and has been adopted and recognized by the County Water Authority over 6 years ago.
On current plans, not future plans?
Future plans, too.
Future plans how far? 20 years, correct?
I believe so. The intent of the bill, of course, is to have this as a standby operation so that in the event of an emergency, as the chairman said, but the master plan identified the existing and future use of water.
20 years, okay. Okay, would you like to close, Ms. Gonzalez?
I think I'll let that serve as my close. I think we can get bogged down in the technicality, and anyone, of course, from local government knows LAFCO's fun. But to me, this bill has been and will continue to be not one about process, but one about righting a historical wrong. And so that's why I was willing to bring forward this bill. That's why all of the San Diego area legislators, Democrat and Republican, have signed on as co-authors. That's why we have such broad and extensive support from our cities, from even the water districts working with us, from a number of groups who understand that if we don't do this and if we continue to drag this on, there is a public safety issue. There is a possibility of a fire or an earthquake that means there's no water. I think now is the time, and I think we can solve this here, and I hope that you'll agree, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Secretary, please call the roll.
The motion is due pass, and we refer to the Committee on Appropriations. Eggman.
Aye.
Eggman, aye. Waldron. Alejo. Bonilla. Bonilla, aye. Chu. Cooley. Gaines. Aye. Gaines, aye. Gordon. Not voting. Gordon, not voting. Linder. Bill needs two.
Okay, you need 2 more votes to get out.
Thank you
very much. Okay, next up we have Mr. Holden.